Oh, good morning. Hello, good morning. Happy New Year. Happy New Year. Okay, you got me. It's not quite the new year yet, but it is the 31st today, and I still have a run to do. But before that, I've still got my last coffee of 2022 to drink. So let's do that before we do anything else. Boop. So while my last coffee of the year is brewing, I thought now would be a great time to reflect back on the year. It's been my first year of making running videos on YouTube, and it's been a blast. I've honestly enjoyed every conversation that I've had on this platform, and all the engagement has been wicked. So thank you all so much. But it seems rude as we come to the end of the year, and specifically on the 31st of the year, not to take a moment to reflect back on the good and bad, and to evaluate just how bloody lucky we all are to be able to go out and run if we can, of course. So I will break this video down into segments, so they will be time-stamped below, so you are more than welcome to skip through if you prefer. That will also be down in the description if you'd like to see sort of a table of contents of the video. But I'd like to start this video by talking about my highlight of the year. There are many highlights. It's been my first calendar year of running, honestly. It's been my first calendar year of not smoking a cigarette or drinking alcohol since, God, I was probably about 14 years old. So it's been an amazing year in that regard. And I've clocked up about 3,400 kilometers. So it's been my biggest year of running ever by, yeah, God, I can't even work out in my head on the spot, by a long way. It's been bloody brilliant. But my one highlight of the year has to be finishing the Melbourne Marathon. Before I get into it, let me go and finish this coffee. Yum! So, why the Melbourne Marathon? Why was this highlight of my year? It was my third marathon of the year, and it was probably the marathon that I went into with the least expectations. If I'm honest, I hadn't done a training block or even, you know, really planned much beyond getting to the start line. I booked my place on the day about 10 days before the race took place. Admittedly, I had built up a lot of fitness in the, I don't know, 5 or 6 weeks prior to Melbourne. I'd actually just finished the Adelaide Marathon, and I'd put in a couple of 100k plus weeks, and I was feeling pretty good, to be honest. For my first time in a long time, I wasn't suffering from any niggles, and I'd actually recovered from Adelaide, the marathon, really well. And I went into the race in Melbourne after spending only like 2 or 3 days in Melbourne ever. I'd never visited before this weekend, and we had arrived on the Friday, and it was just such a bloody good weekend. I will link above to the videos from that Melbourne race trip. It was just such an amazing event, and it was actually my first time running and meeting some of the members of my club that's actually based in West Australia. So currently I'm based in South Australia, and it was really good to meet up with those guys and to run alongside them. And we also got to celebrate at the end, at the finish line together, which was a really, really special moment. But just reflecting back on that day in Melbourne, as we came into the MCG to finish, it was just such an amazing feeling. Very, very emotional. I don't think I've ever cried that much in public ever, and I'm not sure I ever will again. It was just incredible. Yeah, just such a beautiful experience. So Melbourne Marathon, coming across that carpet at the end and finishing in 2:58, a new PB. It was just such a bloody amazing day. So definitely my highlight of the year, one that I would love to go back and relive any day. I should probably take this knee out of shot, it looks a bit dodgy. Anyway, moving on to probably a, I guess, joint segment of this video, which is the most unfortunate moment of the year, / my least favourite. Now, I guess this isn't going to come as a surprise that this actually happened during another one of the marathons that I did this year. So I actually had the pleasure of running 3 marathons. I ran my first ever marathon back in April of this year, and that was the Brighton Marathon. And yeah, that was a lot of fun. Go and watch the video above if you haven't already. I am quite proud of that video in which I sort of lay out all of the highs and lows of my first marathon experience. But the second marathon I ever ran was actually my first marathon here in Australia. And it was my first marathon that I think I really went into with an idea of, okay, I've got a time in my head, I've got a strategy, and I feel ready. And I don't know if the marathon gods heard my internal monologue here in the days leading up to the Adelaide Marathon and just thought, you know what, Scott, basically one of those, because that's what happened on the day. I started off running and I knew pretty early on that things weren't right. For any of you that have run a marathon before, you'll know that GI issues / belly issues are a massively common thing in marathons. Anything long distance, really. I mean, I've had cramps in a half marathon, but really it's not long enough to be able to really crush your soul when you're dealing with cramps, belly issues, stuff like that. Half marathon just doesn't really seem long enough to be, I guess the result can be changed, but not drastically. But when it comes to a marathon, anything over that 30k point, it just feels like the belly just, it's not sure of what's happening, and it wants to wreak havoc on you. It wants to be detrimental to your performance. Of course it doesn't. It's just a really sensitive issue, quite literally. So I knew early on this day, it's only about 6 or 7k in, that things weren't right. I started to feel the urge to use the bathroom, and you can use your imagination into, I guess what I'm referring to there, but yeah, it wasn't feeling good early on, and this only progressively got worse and worse until the halfway point when I had to say enough's enough, I need to go and use the bathroom. Now, this particular moment is kind of a bittersweet moment for me in my memory as I went into that Portaloo and things happened, I'm sure you can imagine. But this is actually the moment when I met my now running coach, which is bizarre. It was actually Tony from Tony Smith Running Club that was banging on the door saying, I'm a runner, I need to use the bathroom. And I then leapt out of the bathroom. Thankfully I'd done my business and I left. But it was only later on that day that Tony actually tapped me on the shoulder and said, oh, apologies, that was me. You know, and we had a chat, and it was actually during the marathon itself, so it was a really nice moment. Again, that was the sweet side of this story, but the more bitter, the more painful side of the story was the fact that that bathroom break was awful. And to be honest, only 3 or 4k later, after that bathroom break, did all of those pains, all of those grumbles, and just that awful feeling in my belly come back, and actually didn't provide that much relief. So I'd gone to the bathroom at 21k into this race, at the halfway point of this marathon, and at 24/25 kilometers, I was back in that bathroom. Sorry, I wasn't back in that bathroom, I wish I was. There wasn't any other bloody bathrooms out on course. So in my head, I was thinking, I need to keep this together, I need to keep this in, quite literally. And I struggled all the way to the end. And that was the first day I ever broke 3 hours for the marathon. I ran 2:59.99, something ridiculous, and I loved the day, don't get me wrong, it was bloody beautiful. I had Courtney there, her family were there cheering me on. It was such an epic, beautiful event, but just tainted by that awful decision I made that morning when I chugged like 2 or 3 cups of coffee, no idea what I was thinking, and I had about 500 ml of pure orange juice. I don't know what I was thinking that day. One of those things where I had been so strict with my training, with my carb loading, with my taper, I was so sure that I'd done everything right, and then on race day I did what everyone will tell you not to do, and that was to do something different on race day morning. Bloody stupid. If you've got a marathon coming up tomorrow, the next day, please just, I beg you, don't do anything different, honestly. Or maybe do and then make a video like this, I don't know. But that was my, I guess, most unfortunate / least favourite moment of the year so far. I guess there's still a few hours to go, so there might be something that tops that, but I doubt it. Okay, so you've probably looked at the table of contents below and had a look through the categories, so let me break them down quickly for you now. I'll be ending this video with my running goals for 2023, but before we get into my running goals for 2023, I just wanted to look back at my most surprising moment of this year, one thing that happened that I really wasn't expecting, and I guess one thing that I was the most grateful for this year. So, starting off with the thing that surprised me the most this year. And actually, my choice here might seem like an odd one to you guys, so I'm going to do my best to explain my thought and my rationality here. But I'm honestly surprised by how much running has kicked my ass this year. And not only running, I think all of these areas of my life where I consider myself disciplined and creative, I guess is a good word for it. But I guess, areas of life that I'm passionate about that haven't necessarily rewarded me as much as I thought they would. Now, this is a massively humbling thing, and part of my reason why it surprised me, I guess, is that I'm actually in a place, or I should say, I'm grateful to be in a place where I can be humbled, and actually I'm not sad or, I guess, distraught that things haven't really worked out the way they have. But honestly, I'm really surprised that, you know, I've got to the point of making a year's worth of YouTube videos and I haven't hit my early targets that I actually haven't spoken about on this channel, but I really wanted to hit 500 subscribers by the end of this year. I wanted to make 100 videos by the end of this year. And actually, I really hoped to have, it sounds ridiculous saying this now, but I really hoped to have run more marathons and actually run more races this year and had more content to document here in Australia to share with you guys. But those things haven't happened. And actually, I find myself with a great amount of excitement for next year. And actually, I guess this reality check that I'm ever so grateful for, to be able to say, you know what, I've given this all a bloody good shot. And if my YouTube hasn't grown as much as I guess I hoped it would, that doesn't matter, because I find myself at a point now I've made many good videos this year, 60 plus, that I'm so incredibly proud of. There's been a lot of videos that haven't made it here to YouTube and they've just sat on my hard drive that I didn't enjoy watching back, or I just didn't feel like they delivered what I set out to achieve. And I'm so proud of everything that I've been able to do in the content. And for my running, wow, I mean, I've broken every PB this year in every distance. I've run my first marathon, I've got down to a 2:58. I've almost broken 80 minutes for the half marathon. I've run 80:50, I think is my PB. I've broken my 10K. I've run a 36:30, I think is my PB, which, you know, was like 2 minutes quicker than the year prior. I've also broken my 5K PB. That's, you know, taken me a lot of effort and a lot of time to shave off about 20 seconds, but it's just been bloody brilliant. And I've run my first fast mile, which was a 5:01. Some of those PBs aren't official, you know, they didn't happen in races, but still, I'm very proud of them, and I guess that's what matters. You know, with that being said, I think there are definitely running goals that I think got caught up on at some points of this year, and it was only during moments of being injured for 3 months that was actually just rubbish, and I had really low mileage during that time and didn't really know what was going on. It was during that period that I just realised, oh, those goals that I had, perhaps even for the YouTube channel, but more so in the running context, maybe they just need to take a bit of a backseat. Maybe I just need to be able to just like narrow my sights and concentrate on what matters in this moment. And that was recovery at that time, but it took me a lot of time to be able to get in that mindset and just to think, what is best for me right now? What is the appropriate train of thought to be practicing during this time? Because you know what? If my mindset is on, okay, I want to make race videos and get the best content I can of my own running, my training, if I'm thinking about that while I'm injured, like, it's not helpful to anyone. Yeah, it's good down the line, I'm going to have this real excitement to get back going. But what it meant for me was that I kept trying to get started running again when I wasn't ready. And it took me literally coming to Australia and having to be like, I'm in the most beautiful place I've ever been, and I'm not able to run because I keep setting myself back. I keep trying to run quickly again, too quickly, and that's just stupid. So I think a massive lesson to be learned there. But I think overall, yeah, I am surprised by how bloody difficult running has been. And actually, I'm not an expert when it comes to making videos, and I'm always open to feedback. So I really appreciate you all that have shared tips and have, you know, shared love for the channel, because that really helps me to learn what you guys do like and what you don't. And, you know, moving forward, I do feel passionate about improving the quality and improving the information I share here. But with all that being said, I would like to move on now to, I guess, my most grateful moment this year. And this was actually quite a surprising moment when it happened. So I guess it could fit into the category of the most surprising, but I think more so grateful. And this moment came at the end of my first marathon, and that was the Brighton Marathon back in the UK in April of this year. And that moment, that very beautiful moment, came at the halfway point. And admittedly, things did get pretty ugly after the halfway point, but there was this beautiful, beautiful moment when my partner, Courtney, was there on the side of the road. She was cheering my name. And to her left was my sister, who I hadn't seen for about 6 weeks at this point. And then to my sister's left was a couple of Courtney and I's good friends. They were there in Brighton. They travelled down for the day along with my sister to cheer me on. And I had no idea that they were going to be there. I knew that there was talks of them coming down at some point in the day. But just seeing these guys just at the side of the road, absolutely yelling my name, it just, it filled my heart with so much joy. And I think it was around that time that I really just thought, I am so bloody lucky to have the support of these guys. And actually, I am incredibly proud of myself for being here doing this today. So it had to be my most grateful moment, of course. Before we get into my 2023 running goals, I just wanted to make a quick bonus segment to talk about 2 massive things that I've learned this year in 2022. What things have I learned about running that I think you guys would benefit from hearing? Firstly, running socks matter so bloody much. These socks from Steigen are an absolute bloody game changer. These were actually a stocking filler for me, and oh man, they're bloody amazing. And you know what? I'm sure that all of the big brands like Stance and even the nicer socks from the likes of Nike and Adidas, I'm sure they're bloody great. But personally, I've used Steigen for the last couple of weeks. I bought myself a pair and then got a load for Christmas in my stocking fillers, and honestly, they're amazing, honestly. Such a bloody game changer. Now for the sponsored bit where you're probably thinking, come on Scott, give it a rest mate, you've made it this far into the video without a sponsor. But let me tell you that honestly, using electrolytes in my training this year has been a massive game changer. And I am so proud to be supported by the guys at BIX who are supporting this marathon training series, the Port Fairy Ferry, and are sending me electrolytes, keeping me hydrated, energized, and well recovered all along the way. Keep it with my knee up. It looks dodgy, didn't it? I'll keep that down. I wouldn't be talking about them if I didn't love them. So thank you guys so very much. But I'd love to hear from you guys. What have you learned in 2022 that has changed your running for the better? Hopefully not worse. It would be rubbish if you just adopted something that made your run really rubbish. Okay, and moving on to my 2023 running goals. I'm going to keep this section of the video short and concise because quite honestly, I covered this in my previous video and I said my #1 goal for 2023 is to just bloody enjoy the running. I don't want to get caught up in this idea of just like complete data tracking, being so focused on which recovery zone I'm in. Am I feeling ready to train? What's my HRV doing? How am I feeling today? Am I feeling like I want to go and do the threshold session, or do I need a bit more time of resting? I just want to bloody enjoy the running, and if I don't feel up to it, I'm not going to do it. That's where I'm at. I put so much pressure on myself this year to achieve goals and to constantly be working and to perform, I guess, just for the sake of these videos or just for the sake of Strava. And I think in the long run, am I really going to enjoy running if I keep doing that? Probably not. I need to focus on this idea that this is for me, this is a massive luxury. And at the moment, I'm working bloody 50 hours a week in my job. I don't need running to feel like a chore to me or something that I necessarily need to do to complete the day. This is a complete luxury. Even my coach isn't going to be mad if I have a day off, but he will be mad if I stop enjoying it. That is for sure. I think any coach would be, let's face it. But moving through my times, I can't honestly believe that I'm saying it, but of course I would like to dip under that 250 marathon. My goal for this marathon training series is to get to the big day feeling fitter than ever and to execute a sub 250 marathon. I would love a 248. But you know, I've still got 7 weeks of training to go and a lot can happen during that time. I might want to go quicker than that. I might not actually have it in my legs to do that on the day. But 7 weeks away, I'm still holding faith that there's a sub 250 there for me. I'll go through my A, B and C goals for that big day, that Port Fairy Marathon, in a couple of videos time. But for now, let me just say I'd love that sub 250. But also just to finish with a smile on my face will be bloody brilliant. Without any toilet stops, I hope. For the half marathon, I would love to break 80 minutes for the year. I'm only like 50 seconds off, so I'm pretty hopeful that I'll be able to do that, but that's something that I'd like to aim for. For the 10K, I'd love to go for sub 36. Just seems like the natural progression. I'm only about 30 seconds off. It's been ages since I've done a 10K race, so I'm so excited to do that after this marathon training block. And then for my 5K, I'm not really sure. I'd love to just run more consistently under 17 minutes. I've only done it once. And yeah, I'd really just like to make that a more common occurrence, to be able to hold that sort of 3:20-ish per kilometre pace and just get a bit more comfortable there. But sort of, I guess, a bonus goal of mine, I would love to run a sub 5-minute mile. I haven't done an official mile race, and it's actually something that I'm quite looking forward to doing. But those are my running goals, and I would love to hear yours down below. Let me know how you've got on this year with your running. Please feel free to share your highlights, your most unfortunate moment, maybe something that you've been grateful for, and maybe something that surprised you. I would love to hear it all. For now, that is all from me. I've got 16K easy to go and do now, and that will be my last run of the year. I'm very, very excited about that. I've just got my BIX drink to finish before I head up, because it is a bloody hot day out there today. As we like to say on this training series, best is love, test the gov. Thank you all dearly for watching, and Happy New Year.